The bout of violence at the FDC offices on Thursday left a blot on the conscience of the nation and thrust the leaders of the government in waiting into the crosshairs. During the fracas, journalists were left injured after thugs hiding inside the FDC offices went on a rampage. The FDC party chairperson, Waswa Birigwa, who was forcibly detained in the offices, later escaped by scaling the fence at the FDC headquarters. It came as a surprise as the FDC party had now changed places with the NRM government. Built on the sand dunes of hope, 19 years ago, in a country where political space is constricted, the events this week at a party, once the largest opposition party, displayed a fatigue and weariness that usually afflicts those who perpetually seek to ascend the greasy pole of power. Senior party figures and allies such as Party President Patrick Amuriat, Chiza Besige, Semaju Nganda, Nandala Mafabi, and Waswa Birigwa continue to trade accusations of impropriety stemming from the reticence of Party President Amuriat to disclose the sources of funds the party received during the 2021 general elections. Party spokesperson and Kira Municipality MP Ibrahim Semaju Nganda suspects that the money came from the ruling regime as part of its efforts to capture the leadership of the FDC and has called for full disclosure to dispel these concerns. About 300 million shillings was handed to the founding president Kiza Besige, who found it suspicious and later returned it to Nandala.
Liberally discussed in the public as dirty money, that's where it cropped up. And, I became aware of it, discussed it with our close leaders. They were not even happy that I was discussing it, because they said, you were a party president, nobody asked you where money came from. Why are you now coming to ask? And having realized that there was this attitude, I backed off.
If you see those documents, he's almost every week in Nairobi training in campaigns. He went to supervise elections in Kenya for 14 days. Were elections in Kenya there for 14 days? Let him confirm he was there for 14 days. If he's a genuine man. And he says he's a Muslim like us. Allah. I want to challenge my brother Semuju, who has been doing character assassination of Nandara and Engineer Amuriat, to come out if he has more authority.
We have names built over time and families and friends that are hurting over these unending accusations. Also, for the record, the party has never got money from Museveni's regime as we are accused. The only money that the party receives from government of Uganda through the National Electoral Commission is legal and has always been fully accounted for.
The meeting we organized in Zambia, we told everybody that there were attempts to capture the FDC. People say sometimes we like talking. Today it has been demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that what we said in Zambia was a reality. Even as I speak to you, the FDC chairman, Ambassador Waswa Birigwa, who is supposed to be organizing a National Council's meeting next week, is held captive by Amuriat.
Section 12(1)(b) of the Political Parties and Organizations Act requires that every political party or organization shall maintain an accurate statement of accounts showing the sources of its funds and the name of any person who has contributed to the funds. These legal obligations to disclose notwithstanding, Amuriat justified his secrecy by citing party policy and practice that favored non-disclosure to protect the identity of funders who may be targeted by government.
Disclosure of some sources of funds for the campaigns is not possible because throughout our life as a party, we have maintained a policy where sources of funding that don't wish to be disclosed are kept confidential.
A 2020 study entitled Commercialized Politics and Captivity of State Institutions in Uganda defines political party capture as a consequence of the leading financiers of the party leveraging their financial muscle to control the decision-making processes of the party to serve their political and other strategic interests, which include curbing dissent.
The other thing that we believe this country needs is really to anchor and to restore institutions. And as of now, institutions in Uganda are almost dead. You see, the judiciary is something else, full of cadre judges and so on and so forth. You look at parliament, sometimes you don't understand the language they are speaking, but they are speaking anyway. And then you go to the executive, the police, and you wonder, is this a Ugandan police? Is this a Ugandan?
The outcome, according to an article entitled Neoliberalism Institutionalized, is commodification in the face of widespread poverty, so that every fabric of society, including elections, is tainted and for sale.
What we are witnessing now is the pain of protracted struggle. Struggles that don't come to an end. Struggles that show no end in sight. That at some point, hitherto good people, hitherto wonderful activists, men who are seen as clean in the eyes of the public, reach that point when they run out of steam, they expire, they become difficult to understand, and they become suspected of wrongdoing. And the suspicion is not without merit. It is because they have struggled for a long time, and at some point, they've become exhausted.
The FDC over years had developed capacity to deal with almost all manner of pressure, all manner of suspicions, all manner of animosity. I know that at one point there was what we instituted, it was called the Elders Council. At one point we also had to get a body, a defendant body, and a body of inquiry to inquire into allegations against party leaders. I know that at one point there was a mechanism for quick decision making, and it was called the steering committee, where if any quick decision had to be made, which had a serious bearing on the party, you call up these five.
In December 2004, the birth pangs of a vibrant multi-party governance delivered a new party on the ruins of the just concluded 2001 presidential election. Kizza Besigye, who had broken taboo to challenge his Bushwar comrade, contested on the Reform Agenda ticket. Bruised and battered during campaigns, he was hounded until he fled into exile in South Africa. In 2005, he made a triumphant return and contested the election, where he came second and accused the incumbent of rigging the election as the Supreme Court agreed. But on the basis of substantiality, he lost by a verdict of 3-4. The first cracks in the party emerged in 2012 after a fractious election pitting the rabble-rousing Budadiri West MP Nandala Mafabi, who contested against the former army commander and party president Mugisha Muntu.
Muntu is a mob. If there is anything that's been cutting me deep, it is that. I went to Bush at 23 years. I left the regime in which I could have gone and gotten a job and enjoyed luxury.
Where we can see our Secretary General voting more than 5 times. That's very bad. It shows a bad picture. Yes. These are things which build on morals. The problem with FDC not accepting accountability is a big problem.
Internal party structures such as the Elders Council and the Steering Committee installed to anchor the institution against these subversive forces and mitigate against threats such as the personalization of the party have suffered setbacks after key party figures such as Eria Kategaya and Amanya Mushega left. Ogengala Tigo, who served the party as leader of the opposition in the 8th Parliament and has since left the party, reflects on the current row.
A bad environment will wear you down. And so fundamentally parties all the parties got worn down. And you start looking to survival, you start looking to personalities instead of issues. And that's the problem in this country.
Allegedly, the FDC kept some money with former party president Dr. Kizza Besigye. The Secretary General Nandala Mafabi revealed the money whose source is unknown was eventually returned and accounted for.
So I told you that we have been funding elections. It has never been an issue. All those periods, nobody has ever questioned where was the source of what? Funding. But in the 2021 is where the question is what? Coming. This double standard should not be accepted, and we shall not agree to people who talk with their tongues folded.
Nandala Mafabi, on the other hand, says Besigye did not in the past disclose the sources of funding during past election cycles. He claims that the 2020 election was the least funded, and if it was the least funded, then why did it elicit suspicion? It is not the first time that suspicion has engulfed the FDC party. After losing the 2017 election, Muntu claimed that he had been accused of being a mole as he commenced the process to start the Alliance for National Transformation. Muntu claimed that time was of the essence.
Time is the friend of everybody who is in this room and those who are outside. Time. Time. If it is the will of God, there's going to be a time when people will be shocked when they know who the moles are.
However, his party continues to grapple with gaining voter traction. In the wake of this public row within the FDC, a party that from the outset defined itself as the antithesis of the rival NRM and in doing so espoused internal democracy and accountability, it is questionable whether commitment to these values and ideals remains steadfast. Further, should this row precipitate the demise of the FDC, there is a vacuum of leadership among the forces and interests in favor of democracy and a new vision for Uganda.
We are convinced that President Museveni is going to go. We don't know how he's going to go, but we know one day this country will wake up and find that there is no President Museveni. And when he is not there, each one of us will be called upon, will be required to lay on table what agenda we have for this country. Forget about the state capture that is operating now, the hijack of government that is operating now. We believe that someday those will not be in play. And then we will have to articulate a post-Museveni agenda for Uganda. And I want to think that that is what we in the opposition also have to work on.
According to Suleiman Kakaire, a political scholar, there's a dearth of leadership in the opposition and a paucity of imagination and vision in Ugandan politics.
Unfortunately, the politics is not really addressing the real issues facing Ugandans. The real issues, we're talking about a proletarianized population which has been reduced to serfdom, the biggest portion of the population. I don't see anyone who is rising and redefining an agrarian question. What is the agrarian question in the current context? What is the national question in the current context? No one is speaking to that.
Some experts argue that the question of political parties and their role in articulating an alternative vision of a post-Museveni Uganda is prescient, given the neoliberal forces arrayed against the people of Uganda who must be organized to resist and reimagine a new society that is inclusive, democratic,